There's an old saying that says failure to plan is planning to fail. And as we grow older and reach our senior years, it becomes more and more imperative that we have a plan in place so our wishes are met and we know what to do, and our family members and loved ones know what we want. So, my guest today is Cathy Coridan, and she is a colleague. She is a realtor and senior transition partner here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And one of the things she says is, I believe in advocating for seniors in my North Dallas community by supporting local senior focused organizations. And these organizations help us make the plans that seniors need as they move forward. So, welcome to the show, Cathy Coridan. In today's world, older adults face major transitions like downsizing, relocating, or modifying their homes to age in place, all while embracing life after these changes. As a senior home advisor and seasoned realtor, Robin McCoy guides these decisions with care and thoughtful planning, helping create a vibrant future. Welcome to Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60 with me, your host, Robin McCoy. Hey, Cathy, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. This is going to be a great conversation.
I'm really looking forward to it, Robin, and I truly appreciate the opportunity to be with you and explore. So let's explore.
Let's explore. Now, we as senior advisors and as both as realtors and senior advisors, we see a lot of things that go on that really truly could have been, I guess, eliminated when it comes to just moving when you're a little bit older, or maybe it's you're moving mom and dad or moving yourself. And that's what we want to talk today, is just about making that plan.
Right. My tagline as your transition partner is helping make transitions happen with less stress and more success.
Less stress, more success. And having gone through a most stressful time myself last fall, this is such an important thing. And, we talk about when's the best time to make a plan. Well, probably last week. The second best time is right now.
Right. When's the best time to plant a tree? 25 years ago. Second best time is now.
Now. So
Same
regardless
idea.
of your age, you want to make those plans about not only where do you want to be, but how do you want to live, and what things need to be in place to make sure that happens. So what kind of, is your story on that?
Well, my story is interesting because my husband and I made a senior move 3 years ago. We moved from Northern Virginia down here to North Texas near you. And in making those plans, we had started, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. I lose track of time the longer I've been here. It's 3 years this week that we closed on the house. So we had made the plan, and that was September of and October of 2021. Our original plan had been to make the move in January of 23.
Okay.
We had, I had worked here remotely for 4 years, but I came into town, for a week at a time, 4 times a year. I was the grant writer and program development person for the Girls Incorporated of Metropolitan Dallas. And so I would fly in, and my cousin she lives 5 miles from me as the crow flies that way. So we had talked about Florida. We talked about the Carolinas. We talked about the beach. Never talked about Arizona. I don't like that amount of heat. So we had explored kind of where we wanted to go, with the idea that we wanted to go as semi-retired, and even a little bit before that, because we wanted to be engaged in the community we were living in a full kind of way before we made any plans to back out of that and be more retired, whatever that's going to look like for us. I'm not sure yet. So that had been our plan. And we had talked to my cousin. We'd been down here several times for visits. Original plan had been to purchase an investment property and have it under my cousin and her husband are investors of their own block of investment properties locally. And that's their retirement process and their semi-retirement. And so they would have then managed the property we would have been able to benefit from the appreciation over those years and then come down and do the renovation to make it how we wanted it and both moved down here. That was the plan. You know, man plans, God laughs, and that is truly true. So, and if women plan it, he laughs even harder, is what I believe. So,
I don't know.
yeah,
We get things done pretty good.
we do. So we had actually been here, and then COVID, and so that really stalled it because we weren't able to come down here. And then through COVID, Franny and Fetty Mac had both changed some of the requirements and the interest rates on investment properties. And so by the time we got down here and we were actually driving, I was in the car with my husband and I were in the car with my cousin who's an agent. And we were looking around and we got the call from the lender who said, oh, you know what? Where interest rates were 2.875 for purchasing a primary residence, they were 4.875 and higher for investment properties because of some pieces put in about COVID by the feds or by actually Freddie and Fannie, they are not the feds. So we said, oh no, we are not buying a house at that because it was going to become our primary home. So we said, well, we're just going to wait. So we went back home, and what happened was that was in April. In the middle of July, my husband's job situation changed radically. And the organization he was working for made some major changes that did not include him.
Oh.
And so we could stay in DC and he could try to find something for a year and a half when he had already started building on relationships down here and on a plan he had for down here. Or we could make the move.
Yeah.
And then I work backwards, and I was still in active production for a full year after I moved down here. And then I would have a gradual transition. We were only able to do that because we'd already identified the communities we were looking for. We had been on an MLS search with my cousin for over a year. We knew we had narrowed it to 3 towns.
Yeah.
So we had the plan for January of 23. We implemented it in 10 weeks to Texas between July 15th and September 25th of 2021. We never would have been able to do that.
Now, if you hadn't already figured stuff out.
Right. So we knew where we were going. We didn't have to start from the beginning. And it made a very stressful situation less stressful and more successful.
Yeah.
Because we were able to then move forward without having to think real hard. And one of the things that I believe about planning is that if you have the ability to think it through, to talk it through. I mean, we've been talking about this for 2.5 years before we got in the car, with the little thing with the pack of stuff on the top of it. And I was going to get a little rocking chair like Grandma Clampett and, moved us down here. We thought through the what ifs and the hows and the whys. And so we didn't have to do that. Those decisions we had made, we didn't have to figure out where we wanted to live.
Well, and the joy of having that plan, or the benefit of having that plan, is you were able to enact it. That if you've got a like a skeleton,
or you've got
a framework, then it can change and move a little bit, right? So now you knew you were going to move to A, B, or C.
Right.
You knew you had an idea of what was available and what the pricing and your budget and all those things were going to be. You had somebody with boots on the ground where you were headed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really just a shift in that plan versus, holy cow.
What do I do?
What do I do?
Right. And so making a plan, even if, and this is what I suggest to clients and friends and everybody, making a plan, you have my permission from now until forever to put it on the shelf.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
have my permission to say, I'm not ready to do this. Yet, if you are in a situation, and we all know those situations, then you take it off the shelf. And you have, and with the work we do with seniors, the difference is, because this wasn't part of Ned's and my situation, we made all the decisions. With some of our clients, other people will make those decisions based on Google and not based on what your heart says and what you want to do. So if you make the plan and put it on a shelf, then you just hand it to the kids. You hand it to the realtor. You hand it to the placement person, the care coordinator. You hand it to somebody and say, this is what my desires are. And that planning allows you to do it. And it allows you to do it when you're younger. And I can be real sensitive about that. I take pride in being a senior. I believe I earned this. I believe it's like being a senior in high school. I earned it. So
every last one of them. You're like
every last gray hair is mine.
I'm now in grade, whatever that would be.
So the younger you do it, the more you know, the more you're able to think it through, the more options that you have, the longer you have to plan. If it's something that's going to cost something, you have the ability to save for it and plan for it and work with your financial planner or your CPA to put it all in the soup for you. If you wait to do it, I'm not ready for it. I'm never getting that old. I'm going to live in this house forever. All of those pieces, then somebody else is going to come in, and God help my sister if it happens, or my brother-in-law, because they're the two that are.
Because somebody's going to have to take care of that.
Correct. And they've been named in the wills, and they have all of the documents, and they know the combination to the safe. And those, even though that's really marginal, those kinds of plans are really helpful.
Because when you've got the plan, typically things happen like that. Right? Mm-hmm. You don't plan, we just recorded a show with our mutual friend, Lori Williams, who just not even 2 years ago, her 62-year-old husband had repeated strokes.
4 strokes.
On at Christmas, before Christmas dinner.
Right.
So the things we least expect can happen. And if you've got even pieces of this available, then it just makes it easier for everybody else.
Yes.
Right? We've got, at the time of this recording, Hurricane Helene has just devastated the East Coast, the Southeast. And so when we say we want to age in place, right? 95% of people say I'm going to live here, I'm going to age in place, but only 50% are able to.
Less than 50%.
Less than 50%.
Much less than 50%.
So, you have a tragic weather event, tornado, hurricane, just any, floods. Can you get out of your house? Hi, I'm Robin McCoy, a Texas realtor for over 15 years. As an adult child of a senior needing to make a living change, I know firsthand the stress that can be involved in guiding our seniors and their families through the challenging decisions surrounding senior living. From adapting your current home for aging in place to finding the right senior community, I provide comprehensive support tailored to your unique needs. By offering these specialized services, I aim to make the transition to senior living as smooth as possible, providing you and your family with peace of mind and confidence in every decision. For more information, go to robinmccoyseniorsolutions.com and let me take some of the stress of senior moves away. Relax, I've got this. You have a tragic weather event, tornado, hurricane, just any, floods. Can you get out of your house?
Mm-hmm. And this is when we moved from Massachusetts back to the Northern Virginia area 12, 15 years ago, we we put, and it was in 2011, so the market was still a mess. And so we put the house on the market, and within a week we had an offer, and we said, oh yes. And then they said, and back then this was not how things usually happen. They wanted to close in 30 days. And so this meant that, and Ned was looking for work in Northern Virginia. I had some health issues that limited my mobility. And it was like, can we get this together in 30 days? And then I thought, well, what if he gets a job and I'm not able, I have to, I'm up here having to do it myself. So we said, yes, please. I said, but tell them it's a concession. And they said, and they came back and said, well, do you want some more time? And I said, no, I was just joking. It was a concession. So anyway, 26 hours after we closed on they closed on the house because we had closed early and our moving van had left. An EF2 tornado came through our neighborhood in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Really?
Hilly interior, Springfield, Massachusetts, and took out our neighborhood. And so we say it is such a blessing that happened because we'd still be living in Springfield, Massachusetts. It can happen.
Yeah.
And so to think it's never going to happen to me, I'm just so relieved that it happened. And no damage was done to our house, which is good. But I drove through because my car was up there. I had to go back up, pick it up. And my friend that picked me up had my car, picked me up in the airport in my car. And we drove through the neighborhood. And it was like, it was. And so my heart is with those folks in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, and Georgia, because
you've been through it.
It's devastating, even as a bystander. It's devastating.
Well, and so when we talk about having a plan, right? It's yes, you want to stay in your house as long as you can. Everybody does. Of course you do. Moving to an assisted living community is expensive. At the at the base of it, it's very expensive. And so of course we want to stay where we are.
And it feels to our clients like they are giving up.
Yes.
It feels to our clients like they have failed. And so to have those conversations in advance again allows them, when the time comes, to say, I know that this is a difficult thing, but I've thought it through and we're going where I want to go.
Yeah. Well, because then you've got time to say, okay, I like these 3 places. I want one of these 3 places. And while those can change, at least there's 3 that now we can go, now that you're ready, Mom, we can go over here and we can look at them again. And we're not going all over the city, not sure what is what.
Correct.
Right. Because we've got that plan.
I want to share with you what I call the tale of 2 Ellens. I had clients and they were about 6 months apart. And the first is Ellen's had a husband named Bill. She is now deceased. Bill is still alive. And I got the call on Thanksgiving from a friend that said Bill Jr.'s father, Bill Sr., who was my client, had fallen. He was in the hospital with a broken hip and had to go to rehab. Mom, Ellen, has early stages of dementia. And then their daughter is a special needs daughter. And she's a wonderful, wonderful human being. I actually ended up loving Nina a lot. She was a really good egg. And so I gave them the names of 2, because it was Thanksgiving. Here are 2 people that I trust implicitly for home care. Call them, whichever one answers first and gets you your needs or you feel most comfortable with, go. And so they did. So when it was time, he had gotten home, they had the home care. It was really wonderful, but they could see the tea leaves. And so they said they were starting to look at assisted livings and they knew that they needed to sell the house. Now the house was in a planned 55 community. So it wasn't the big house, but it was a good sized house. And so that we had a number of things that we were looking at. We brought in senior move managers so that they could begin to go through. They had traveled around the world for his job, had beautiful things, and needed to make decisions about not just who got what, but what would fit into. So the first thing was they had identified 2 different assisted livings. One of them was move-in rental, and the other was a condo purchase in a CCRC, a continuous care retirement community. And so they decided on the CCRC. So then we had to go in and we looked at 3 or 4 of them together, and I helped them purchase it. And then we decided they needed to move before I could put the house on the market, which meant that they needed a bridge loan, so that I needed to get the bridge loan in place. But the plan was the CCRC gave them the best situation because the assisted living and memory care were in the same complex. They weren't in the same place. They were in the apartment together for the period of time that Ellen was able to be safe, be cared for, function in good health. And then it was less than a year that after they moved, that then she moved to assisted living. And it was less than a year after that she passed. So that plan and the other one that they looked at was a assisted living that had a memory care and a skilled nursing attached to it, so that she still could have moved up the levels of care that she needed. But they thought and planned for it. And then the other piece was the daughter had a job out in the far suburbs of Northern Virginia. And both of the places they were looking was close to the sun. That was like 30 miles away. And that meant 45 minutes to 50 minutes without traffic, 2 a.m. DC time. So traffic time. So we found we needed to do, a Section 8 housing voucher for her and find an apartment complex that would accommodate her being able to live there for a couple of months until one became available. And that's, again, the plan.
Yeah.
And so when it all took place, all of the pieces were in play. It just moved forward.
Yeah.
The other Ellen, I had been talking to her for probably 2 years about her, and she said to me, I want to move to an assisted living. Her dementia was progressing, and she knew that she was not going to be able to stay in her home. Yet she resisted and she resisted and she resisted for all the personal reasons. And then she called and said, I've put the deposit down and I'm moving on this date. So I came in and we got movers for her and made the decision of what would fit in the apartment and got the basics of it moved over. But because she hadn't planned and because she didn't want people in the house with her, and because of this came right at the beginning of April of 2020. So you just
so hard.
Yes. So she had moved a lot of her stuff over, but there was still this house full of stuff, plus a renovation that needed to be done. That I'd had the contractor come over and talk to me and to her about what needed to be done. And then she was going to stay in the house until she decided, and she agreed that the senior move managers needed to come in and do the sorting and the sale and the donation and the landfill of the many, many, many things that she still had in the house. But by waiting as long as she did, she wasn't able to keep up the house. And the amount of renovations that had to be done, we planned on that versus had to be done because of not caring for the house. And just one example of this is that she bought a bag of birdseed to put in the bird feeder in the backyard. She put it in the family room, and she'd had rodents come in and not just get into the family room. They were in the attic. And so, and they were all over in the plumbing. And so, and in the ventilation system. And because of that, it was a completely different process that was much more expensive. That if she had worked with me from the first that she had talked about it, the whole move would have been much easier, because then she didn't know if she had brought some things and she would forget where things were. And it was just painful for her, and a long time of calls with me of, selling the house.
Yeah.
And the difference between the two, I mean, the outcome was the same, that she was in an assisted living, she was being well cared for. The isolation of COVID was horrible for her, but she had gone back to the assisted living the night before the senior managers were coming to begin to do the process of moving things, and they quarantined her, so she was never there. And
That had to
so,
be very
and it's
difficult for her.
very difficult. And, you know, I had encouraged and I had begged and I had done all the things that we do. And we had all the plans, we had everything written out, we had everything agreed to. But without a plan, especially with the seniors we work with, the things that can happen and the amount of pain for her that was, I don't want to say unnecessary, but could have been prevented.
Yeah. Or it could have
And
been lessened in any event,
yes,
right? You
yes.
know, we forget too that not every senior out there has a daughter close by to help. Or sometimes, you know, there can be any number of reasons, and it's hard for our seniors.
Mhm.
It's so hard. But finding someone like you or me that can help them, like you said, these are 3 people that I trust implicitly. Whoever you choose will get you to where you need to be in the best way.
Right.
And because so many times we don't have resources to turn to in an emergency.
Be the leader you know you can be. Build your professional network and access education that takes you where you want to go. We are women of all ages and backgrounds. You deserve national recognition and opportunities to build relationships with people you want to work and grow with. Hit the ground running with the Charisma chapter of the American Business Women's Association. Meetings each month from 6 to 8:30 p.m. on the 4th Tuesday in Farmers Branch, Texas, and online. Come with us. Experience ABWA for yourself. Go to charisma.abwa.org to learn more.
Because so many times we don't have resources to turn to in an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And when these things happen, it's sudden.
Right.
It's slowly then suddenly, right?
Yes.
The
Right.
people that you talked about, you said she had on, you know, the beginnings of some dementia. Well, that beginning means it started way over here.
Right. Because when I can see it and hear it, it
Yeah.
was, you're right, way over there.
And so it's progressing because it started over here and now you're in here and you notice it, but people that maybe have been living with mom for a while don't notice it like you would
Right.
because you're not in it. So,
And that's another thing about a plan is that
yeah.
good plans are made in consultation with people that you trust, your financial planner, your CPA, your estate attorney, and they're done in consultation so that a number of different perspectives and a number of different options can be explored.
Yeah.
Whereas in a situation where a client of mine fell in her home, she was not found for several days. When she was found, she had to go to the hospital and then into rehab and could not go back home.
Yeah.
So the first time she went back to the house was in my car so I could take her so she could just sit in her house for a while. Because all of those things had to happen. Boom, 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 boom. And so she'd been declining for a long time. And she was insistent she didn't have to leave her home. And that she had a ramp. It was wheelchair accessible. She
It's
didn't
all,
think,
you know, and it's
she
all good
thought she
until
was
it's
going to
not
be
good,
able,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you can make all the plans in the world, right? You can have a ramp. Your doorways can be wide enough. You can have a no-step shower where you just can walk or roll right in. You can have grab bars. You can have
An
all the
elevator.
things. And still something can happen where you're no longer safe in your home. And
Correct.
so if you want to have any say in that, you need to start planning now. And I'm 61 and I'm seeing we need to have a plan. Everything needs to be where the wills, the financial statements, and you know, it's a knock box or a knock binder next to kin. Your next of kin, who's going to handle when you've got to go to the emergency room? Where are all the insurance things? So that the plan is sister can get into the house, knows to go into the closet, grab that, and then, or the kids or the whomever is going to be the one.
Right.
That's part of the plan. It's not just where am I going to live?
Right. What's the garage door code so that if you don't have a key, you can get in the
Yeah.
house?
How do I get in the house? Are there safe deposit box that has wills and information that I may need?
Mhm.
POAs, all the living wills, all the things, right? We need this
Right.
plan in place because we don't know when a tornado is going to come through, when we're going to trip and fall on a throw rug, when, the
I had
stroke is going to come out of nowhere.
I have a classmate, a high school classmate, and she's been very public about this. She tripped over the dishwasher door, and she almost died.
Oh my gosh.
And she was in the hospital. She had infections. She was in the ICU. She was out of commission. I want to say it was for 3 months, and she's still in rehab a year later.
Oh my
And
goodness.
because, death by dishwasher door is what she jokingly sometimes calls it, that it's a hazard in the house. But when you're not paying attention and you're going really fast, and you're focused on what you're focused on and not on the big picture, these are the things that can happen.
Well, and I fell the other day about a week or so ago in a client's house.
Right.
It was just a little like a wet bar area, and it had a step down, and I knew the step was there. I reached in to turn off a light, and my foot just came down on the not
floor.
on the step, and I was on that tile floor in a heart before I even knew I was down there. I was down there. And so something as commonplace as that
Mm-hmm.
can make a difference. And so I just, I don't want the takeaway to be, oh my God, all doom and gloom here.
No.
Oh my God, how horrible is everything?
But you know how you love to plan a vacation?
Yeah.
You know how you love to plan a holiday meal? I think that if we could look at making some plans and doing it incrementally
Mm-hmm.
and engaging with people to do it, so because that just brings so much value to it.
Mm-hmm.
That the thing that I hate to hear when I'm in the chamber, I'm doing a talk in the community, and I say everybody has a senior because I hear people come up to me afterwards all the time. I wish I knew you when, because my mom, my sister, my aunt, my grandma, we didn't know what to do. And they don't want to reach out because and so I guess if we could destigmatize this idea of asking for help and making a plan and engaging other people to work with you to make a plan, to get a realtor that loves working with seniors, because we know all the people. That's our job, is that when we have the Ellens and the Jills in our life, we are able to say, I know these people. They are my colleagues. They are my trusted allies. They're my partners. So to destigmatize making it and to encourage people to think about it, to gamify it somehow, to make it like you're planning for a big Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
And to include everybody in it, in your world, in your important sphere, because then they have an idea of what you want. And it isn't that they're going to feel like they have to go Google something and figure something out.
Yeah, let's figure it out on the fly. Well, and that's like I said, at the time of this recording, the holidays are coming up. We're at the end of the year here. That is a good time to just start having conversations. It's just having conversations. Mom, if you were to not live here anymore, where would you want to go? Kids, is there anything in this house you want? Because you need to take it with you now.
Right.
If it's not gone by January 1st, you're leaving it up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And start, moving those things towards the door.
Right.
because that's part of the plan too, right? When you talk about all the wonderful things that
The stuff.
this, and some of it may be really wonderful. Like you said, those clients that traveled the world and had
Oh,
amazing,
yes.
amazing things in their home.
Right.
And what is going to happen with that?
Right.
Right. So why not have the kids come and say, you know what, I've always loved that table or that piece of artwork or, that dish set or whatever it might be. And let's go ahead and start. I had somebody say to me, I told the kids, come over and put your sticker on whatever you want. You get yellow, you get blue, and you get green. So that way, when it comes time to divvy all this stuff up, that's who gets it. So
Right.
come put your sticker on stuff.
Mhm.
That's a way to do it, right?
Right.
So, well, Cathy, what is one thing do you think we didn't quite cover that maybe as a takeaway for somebody to just think about after they listen to this?
The best time to think about how you want to do something is before you have to do it. The worst time is to have to figure it out on the fly. You and I both know a guy named Phil Jones who talks about exactly what to say. And so when we're talking about doing our business planning, the worst time to try to figure out how to talk about who we are and what we do is in the moment. That before I plan for just about everything. If I'm going to the chamber leads meeting, I'm thinking about what my ask is for that day so that I am at my best. And you want your world, your things, your plans, your future to be the best. I think seniors deserve the best and feel bombarded by stuff on a lot of levels, but to believe they're the best and they deserve the best. So to get ahead of it and not wait till the last minute. There is
Don't be
not
afraid to plan it. Don't just
sometimes
because
there is no
you're
last
planning
minute.
it doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow.
Put it on the shelf.
Yeah. Make
Put it
the
up
plan, put it on the
put it
shelf, pull it out periodically to see if it's still the plan. Because it may not be the plan anymore.
And if you haven't done anything else, your medical power of attorney,
Yes.
your health directives, and your will or trust are absolute necessities because you don't want either to not get the treatment that you want medically or to get treatment you don't want, and having people in an emergency situation make decisions because they guessed about it. I've known people that have kept their parents or their loved one alive much longer than that person probably would have wanted it to happen. Yeah. So to make those pieces known. So those three documents are the most important. Everybody should have. Everybody
know your state laws. Know your state laws because they're different. Because Texas is pretty weird.
Yes, it is. And Virginia is pretty weird, and the DC is pretty weird. But I got used to those weirds when I came down here. I was there
are just so many misconceptions when it comes to wills and trusts and medical power of attorney and all of those things. So make sure you have that. Make sure you understand the state that you're in and what's going to happen, and just have it all. As you're going through and decluttering that desk and you pull out car titles and insurance policies and things like that, put it in the knockbox. Mm-hmm. Put it in your next of kin binder so that it all ends up in the same place for the big plan.
Right. And actually I have, unless I can reach it, a notebook that I got that I haven't done yet, but putting things in order, how to help my loved ones when I'm gone. And it's this big.
Yeah.
And when I finish it, it will go in the safe where my sister or my brother-in-law can find it, or my husband if he's left with
it'll be your passwords, and it will be, what bank do you bank at, and if you've got more than one, and who's your financial planner, and all of those things, so that somebody in an emergency doesn't have to unwind it,
right? Because
they miss you, or their heart hurts for you.
And it's the most stressful situation when somebody is sick or dying, and you don't want to be trying to make decisions in that situation. Exactly. Planning prevents bad decisions and decisions that cause people time, stress, and thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Yep. All right. With that, we've sufficiently, hopefully, convinced people to sit down with their loved ones and make a plan. Yes. That's the word. Make a plan.
make a plan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really love being on here. You know how I love talking about seniors. And thank you again for allowing me to be your guest today.
Oh, loved having you. I've enjoyed our friendship since we've met a few months ago, and I've really learned a lot from you. And I just hope we can work together to help more seniors in our community. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for Relax, I Got This with Texas Realtor Robin McCoy. Check out all the show notes for contact information on Robin and our guests and to access your free buyer and seller guides. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a conversation. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Relax, I Got This with Robin McCoy.